How has Jimmy Garoppolo improved in your eyes from this year to, just why is this his best year?
Well, I mean, statistically, what jumps out to you is the low turnovers. That's the main thing that you see the biggest difference with Jimmy. I think the reason being, in my opinion, a lot of things. Give him his credit. He obviously started really rough against Denver, didn't have the offseason to get loose, and he has definitely progressed from the Denver game. He's doing well. Probably the best 3 games he's had, or the last 3 games have been really good. Yesterday was probably one of the best games he's had, top 3 of all time, probably for Jimmy. What I think a lot of it is Kyle's learning to use them correctly. He has the most weapons he's ever had in his life, which is great. I mean, he's got probably the best weapons in the NFL. I think a lot of NFL quarterbacks would do really well with these weapons. And the other thing I think that we need to consider is how effective Brian Griese has been as a quarterbacks coach over Scannon Gorilla, who I just didn't really get a good impression of when he was here. But I do like Brian Griese. So I think all those things combined is contributing to Jimmy's success.
Griese's definitely getting results. Here's what I'm seeing from Jimmy and why I was down on him. I like Jimmy as a guy, but as a quarterback and a pro, I didn't like him. And what I saw from him was a guy who really did what he needed to do to get a big contract. But he only played 7 games. And frankly, it seemed not right that he was rewarded with such a big contract after such a little sample size. But what he showed in those 7 games was a guy who has zip on his passes, makes good, quick decisions. He looked like he might be a top 10 quarterback. Then he got paid. And I thought for the next 4 years, he played sloppy and reckless and like a rookie. I mean, he would throw passes off. He had no zip for 4 years on his passes. Just everything was off his back foot, never stepped into his throws, never transferred his weight, never stepped up in the pocket. And then as a decision maker, I mean, he'd force throws, telegraph throws. He played like a rookie. I thought his decision making got worse. And so now all of a sudden, he's transferring his weight. He's throwing with zip. He's making good decisions. And I think it's quite amazing that all of a sudden, he's showing it again for the first time since like 2017, and I have my theories as to why, but that is what he's doing. He's transferring his weight, throwing with zip, and making good decisions, which is what all the Niners wanted from him the entire time.
Yeah.
But now he's doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't noticed the transferring of weight thing. I'll start paying attention to that now that you.
But don't you feel like there's a little bit more zip on his throws?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
He's getting it to the sideline. He's taking those throws, and he's stepping up in the pocket and extending plays. Never used to do that.
Yeah, the one thing that could be attributed to Griese, if he is, transferring his weight, maybe that's something to do with Griese. Maybe he could take some credit for that. I have noticed his passes coming out a little quicker, but I think something that that we definitely have to consider is the Christian McCaffrey outlet is huge for Jimmy Garoppolo because it gives him somebody that can catch the ball in the backfield on an outlet, as opposed to the outlets to like typical running backs. They don't have the hands like Christian McCaffrey, and they're not going to turn it into what he's able to turn to. Even if you have Debo back there, his hands are not like Christian McCaffrey's. So I think Christian McCaffrey, now that I'm seeing it, has been huge for him. Debo, Kittle, Jennings, Ayuk, they can all run routes. And if it's not open, he can just turn to the left or the right and find Christian McCaffrey. So I think that's another big part of what Jimmy's doing. He's not like he's throwing the ball downfield. I think he had one pass completed over 20 yards all game yesterday, which was that off the script play, which is good, which is a really good play to Kittle, which I liked. And, Jimmy is playing better, but I think Reese's part of it, CMC's part of it, Kyle's part of it, and just having all those weapons in general, all those things to come together. And the other thing that we haven't brought up yet also is probably he hasn't faced a lot of good defenses outside of Denver, and that's the game where he struggled the most.
Like a lot of people saying, if Jimmy could play like he did against the Cardinals every week, I mean, the Niners will win the Super Bowl. Yeah, but he didn't face a pass rush last night. So he's not going to play like that every week, and he doesn't get to face the Cardinals every game. But if he has time to throw right now, he's dicing people up. So I'm going to get into some theories as to why I think he's magically suddenly flipped a switch, had a light bulb go off in his mind as to how to play quarterback the right way. But he's playing the position the right way, and as long as he keeps this up, the Niners are in good shape. But I just want to point out that Jimmy's done all this before. He's had good 3-game stretches in November. He's Mr. November. Let me know when he does something of importance in January or February. I think that's the bar for Jimmy at this point. A lot of people being like, oh, do we owe Jimmy an apology? Like, not until he does something in the playoffs.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I'm gonna, hats off to Jimmy. I've been nothing but complimentary on the guy lately, and so he deserves it. But for me, it's yet to be seen if he can continue this long term and into the playoffs. That's the biggest. That's the biggest question mark for me. Can Jimmy perform in the playoffs? And he's got a good test ahead of him in December. I know we're going to talk about that soon, but December is looking a lot tougher than we had thought, even or that I had thought even recently, especially with the emergence of Washington. So we'll talk about that more also.
And you mentioned Christian McCaffrey. I didn't think that was going to move the needle much, but the one thing I think is pretty clear, it helps Jimmy in the sense that he does have a tendency to force passes. Yeah. And now he doesn't have to.
Right.
If he checks down to McCaffrey, that's 8 yards. Mm-hmm. So I think it's probably not a coincidence that Jimmy hasn't thrown a pick since McCaffrey's been on the team.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a big part of it.
Rich says he's not getting hit much either. He isn't all banged up right now. Big difference from last year. Yeah, but when did he get banged up last year? Mid-December? He's got a long way to go, which is why I say, hey, good going, Jimmy. Good start. But you're like halfway there right now. And still, I have questions about Jimmy. So he's transferring his weight. He's making good decisions. My ultimate question with Jimmy is his mental toughness.
Yeah.
Mental toughness. How are you going to play in the fourth quarter of a playoff game? Because right now you have the lowest fourth quarter playoff passer rating in the history of the sport. And it's not a fluke. So there's certain players on this team that I question their mental toughness. Him, McGlinchey in the past, Tart. I mean, frankly, why did he drop that ball? That was a big moment. So that's what Jimmy has to prove, his mental toughness, I think, and among other things. But that's a big one this year.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason he's not being sacked this year, I mean, the line is doing better than anticipated. But I think that a lot of that is because I think Jimmy's passes are coming out quicker than ever now. Like the routes that they're designing for him, the quick outlets, the ball's coming out really, really quick. And so not a lot of time to get sacked or for the line to give up sack.
Well, another reason he's improving is I think Kyle has abandoned the idea of teaching Jimmy his offense. I mean, he tried for years. I want you under center. I want to do play action. Jimmy's not good at it. It's not his thing. He wants to be in the shotgun. It's what he did in New England. It's what he did in 2017. It's what he's doing right now. And what he does is he gets the ball in the shotgun and he makes quick decisions, distributes the ball to playmakers, and let them do the work.
Yeah.
And every single guy he throws to is dangerous. He's got like 6 weapons on the offense right now. So that's part of it.
Yeah, and I think they did have the one great play action to George Kittle yesterday, but against Arizona. Yep. But I think like what I mentioned earlier, a lot of this is Kyle Shanahan scheming around Jimmy, and so it's working. So far, so good. You know, when they face these tougher defenses and these tougher teams, that's when we're really going to see what's up.
Real quick, this is a side note, but I want to all of us, quality control, take credit. Give Jesse Naylor the most credit by far. But this whole tipping thing, I think the Niners used it for a big play. There was one play where they ran left for 20 yards with McCaffrey, and if you look at Trent Williams, he deliberately puts his left leg back. I think they talked about it. It was like, let's use it for one play. Mm-hmm. So I'm taking credit for that. That was us. We brought it to the forefront. We made that happen.
I think there was at least 2. I saw another one where he was lined up in passing formation and they ran the ball. Or not passing formation, but how he normally lines up with his feet when he's pass protecting. They ended up running the ball. So I saw there's at least 2 plays where that occurred.
If Trent Williams is really, really wants to play that way and doesn't want to just kind of have the same stance every time then all he has to do is throw a change-up curveball in there a couple times a game. You don't know when it's coming, and that way as a defender you don't feel comfortable just teeing off on those keys because the 2 times you're wrong could be touchdowns, right?
Right.
That's all you got to do.
And honestly, the tipping's not going to really matter when you're playing the Cardinals. You know,
Yeah.
If it matters, it'll matter against a team where it's a lot more competitive. You know, Cardinals. Trent Williams could tell everybody on the team what the hell they're doing, and they would still beat the Cardinals.
I played baseball in high school, and O'Dowd was a pretty good school. And I remember one kid was a year older than me. We were in playing fall ball, and he was really good one day. And he started. You ever see pitchers like when they're warming up and they'll motion to the catcher what they're going to do? This is a fastball. That's a curveball. He was just doing that on the mound. Fastball. Curveball. It's like they couldn't hit him. It was hilarious. Jason Lutt says, good win. Still got to trade Kyle Shanahan. Wait until midseason. Every year to get rolling is unacceptable. Jimmy Garoppolo is playing great, but I don't trust him in January. Yeah, I mean, kind of, pretty much. This season has been going on forever, and it feels like it still hasn't started.
Yeah. I think December is going to be the true tell for the 49ers. We'll see where they're at after December.